So I lost 245 pounds in 14 months.
Damn.
You did this with diet and exercise? Yes, I did.
You kind of end up in a big skin suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you
Right.
do. Yes, you do.
Did you have any idea that was going to happen to you?
I had not the slightest idea. And it was supposed to be 6 hours of surgery. It was 12.
12 hours of surgery, Pate.
All I remember was them trying to pick me up because I hit the ground. Boom. Think about if I would have went through what I went through across the border.
Man, you'd be dead.
Anybody that's willing to do 12 hours of surgery on you, like you said, marathon surgeries, is not somebody that really cares about you. My surgery with you, night and day difference. I'll recommend anybody pick who has your best interest at heart. And that's why I want to be the voice, man. I want to show people that this is possible. Like, you can do this. You can come back from anything.
Welcome to another Fit Dot podcast. And we continue to bring you inspiring guests that I find just have amazing stories in transformation or fitness and health. And I'm really excited to introduce you to Mr. Pate Muse here.
Thank you, man. Happy to be here.
Welcome, my friend. So this guy here is probably one of the most inspiring people I've ever met. And he has an amazing transformation journey. And I want to share his story with you, his belief, his culture. We've been talking back behind the scenes about what it is. We're going to talk about that. And this man is really special. And he has an incredible story of weight loss. It's really just a life journey. And he is a 3-time transformation bodybuilding champion. This guy is an author. This guy is a podcast guru, basically. He does all these podcasts. He's a speaker, motivation, inspiration, transformation coach. Like, this man just does not stop. He has a lot of the genetics I have, which is just, we are relentless, and we want to inspire. We want to win in life and get others to kind of, buy into that concept. So super happy to have you here, my friend.
Man, with an intro like that, I don't need to say nothing else. Look,
man, I'm telling you, man, I've been watching you for a while, and I was really excited to finally meet you. I had heard about you. I've seen some of your stuff before.
Okay.
Just on social media. I like to be on social, and on my feed, I get a lot of inspiration, people, and I get to notice people. But I did see you before you came to me. I don't know if you knew that.
Really? No, I did not know that.
And then when I met you, I was like, oh man, because I recognized your face.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't recognize your body because I'd seen some photos of you before.
Okay, gotcha.
But you were kind of promoting it at that time. And then got to know your story. And, man, what an inspiring story you have gone through. And so we're going to talk about that because I think there's a lot of people out there who are just at a point in their life that they're just like I'm stuck. I'm just done. I'm done with this. I need to figure out how to lose weight and feel better and just be a healthier person, and then I think I can inspire people. And I think you've done that to the nth degree, my friend. And kudos to you on your transformation. We're going to talk a little bit about really what got you started, what inspires you, what motivates you every day. And I really want them to get to know you, and what makes you tick. And then, that's a little bit about your background. Tell me about when we talked about this a little bit back,
Mm-hmm.
behind the scenes a little bit, is you've made a really impactful statement to me. You said,
Okay.
Weight loss, sometimes these weight loss journeys start from a really dark place.
Yes, they do. Most weight loss start from a really dark place. And a lot of people don't tackle the mental aspect of things. They get to the other end and they think it's just going to change. And that's just not the way it is.
Yeah.
That's not the way it is at all. Because when you get to that place of I'm just done, I'm really just done, that's honestly the best place to be. Because that is when you're at.
You think that's like the bottom?
I think so, man. I think that's.
Tell me about when you got to that point.
So when I got to that point, I was at a warehouse with my dad. We were out there working, and it's pre-diabetic. My dad's diabetic. So we were out there, we're working, and they had a pallet scale. And the last time I weighed myself, I was like 300 and something pounds. So I knew I needed to make a change, but I'm 21 at the time. It's not really that important. I had a incident with gun violence, and I had gotten shot. So my mindset just wasn't, weight loss just wasn't on my mind. So 21 years old, living life, you know how it is. So
man, so I gotta ask you, so that was you right at that time, huh?
That was me right at that time.
Man,
or
look at you.
Right
300
before.
What? How much?
I was 498 pounds.
498 pounds.
I was 498 pounds.
Get out.
Yes, sir.
And then how much you weigh there?
I'm about About 200 pounds right there.
Of just muscle.
Yeah, that's about 200 pounds.
That's impressive, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I
Yeah, man,
definitely appreciate.
that's just so inspiring. Those people that are watching this, and just go check his website out. It's Mr.245.com, and his story's up, and it's that picture that just kind of floors you sometimes, you know?
Yeah, no, I still look at it sometimes. I have to go back and when I'm not progressing
Yeah.
fast enough, and I have to go back and say, oh, okay,
Where you
well,
started.
yeah, exactly. Like, give yourself some grace.
So when you got to that point, you're like, all right, we gotta fix something. And
Yeah.
then how did you get that ball started?
So when I got that ball started, it was really when I was at that warehouse. I stepped on that pallet scale and I looked at that number and it said 400 and something pounds, and I said, okay, it's that like, because the thing about being that big that most people don't understand is you don't know you're that big. You know you're a bigger person. Like, you know, looking at somebody
Yeah.
else, you know you're bigger than them, but that's it. So when I seen that, I was like, okay, it's time to change. So fast forward after that, I did the funniest, well, not the funniest, it's funny now, but did the thing everybody else does when they decide they're going to lose weight. I said I'm going to start eating Subway. And, we can all laugh together because I don't know who said a loaf of bread is healthy, but hey, we're here now. And so yeah, I did that. And, I prayed about it.
Subway diet.
Yeah. So I prayed about it. And, it's funny. So after I prayed about it and about a week went by and one of my good friends hit me up. He's a coach and different things like that. And he's like, hey man, I can help you out if you ever want to lose weight, different things of that nature. So I thought about it for a little bit and got started, never looked back.
So you did it the hard way, which is
Absolutely. Diet and exercise.
diet and exercise.
Yep. And self-control.
Man, I've worked with a lot of patients, just like you when I got to meet you and work with you for the first time. But it's always very similar stories, right? It just got to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Got to that point, and you're like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And then it's here. That's really the click. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it has to click. I think for you, no one can tell you to do it. You can't. It's not be inspired. I think it just happens here at some point. Whatever happens, some kind of
Right.
life event happens, and you're like, I'm done.
Yeah. You just wake up.
So, just kudos to you for just doing it. The hard way.
I appreciate it.
And we'll talk about it because I like to kind of get your thoughts on this new thing with the peptides and these weight loss peptides. I'd love to kind of hear what your thoughts about that. But going back to that journey, like how long did it take you to get to where you got? Let's talk about the first time you got on that transformation weight loss stage.
So it took that process was 2 year total process, including my first surgery and my weight loss period of that was about 14 months. So I lost 245 pounds in 14 months.
Damn.
Yeah.
Did
So
y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that?
So
That's just phenomenal.
So it's pretty safe to say that was the main focus of my life. If I wasn't working, that I was in the gym or running or whatever it took.
Yeah.
Eating, kind of like crash course in the beginning. Then kind of find out like that's not
Right.
Yeah, it's not the way to do it. So then you start doing things the right way with your nutrition and all those things like that. And like I said, I was just in the gym. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Did you reach out to people like to help you? Like, did you look for coaching? Did you look at any medications to kind of facilitate the process?
So I didn't look at medications. The only thing I did have to look at is I found that when I started taking the weight off my body, then the body pains came. So joints and all those things like that. So, supplements for Dr. Joint, all those different type of things like that. I had my coach at the time and he pretty much was everything I kind of needed.
Yeah.
So no, I didn't really have to reach out to anybody else. It was really just a long isolation period. Really long isolation period, just focusing.
Like you're in a dark place, or we're just
Kinda, because one of the things I will say is once you learn you're that big, you start looking like, well, why didn't nobody ever tell me? Do people not care about me? All those things like that, and they just watching me do this to myself and all those things like that. But you then learn it's like it's not their job to make you fix your stuff. Like that's all on you. Like you chose to be there. You had a choice to, eat or not, and you chose to eat. You chose what felt good. So
yeah.
it's all on you. So you go through that little mental period of things, and once you get past it and learn, like, okay, well, this is on me. I need to do something about it. So it comes a little dark period, but that just kind of decides on the person that you are. If you are the person to get up and be like, okay, I did this, I'm going to fix it, then you'll fix it. If you're the person that sits there and be like, well, I did this happened to me, and you get stuck there, then, you're kind of always be stuck there. And those are the kind of people that I kind of deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. So, question for you: I think I've talked about this before with a lot of the patients that I've worked with for massive weight loss, and if you didn't know, the new trend in massive weight loss is peptides. It's
Yes.
weight loss peptides, and I would say, I mean, I know a lot about them.
Mm-hmm.
I've researched it quite extensively. When they first came to the market, I was really, really hesitant to kind of get behind them. I was kind of scared because the history of weight loss medications is not good.
Mm-hmm.
Not good. The alternative to weight loss medications is you have the gastric bypass surgeries,
Mm-hmm.
and those come with a lot of risks, a lot of complications, lifelong,
yeah,
metabolic disorders that come with that because
Mm-hmm.
you're replumbing your intestines, which is not a good thing in my
right.
opinion.
Not at all.
But I think before you started your transformation, the peptides weren't to the market yet.
No.
It was really, really new. This is a really new thing to our society, is with these very, very powerful weight loss peptides. But when you had options and you started, when that click happened, did you think to yourself, do you think surgery was an option, the gastric bypass surgery, the banding surgery, you even think about that?
At one point I did. At one point I thought that was like, I thought I went past the point of no return and that was the only way out. But once I lost about the first 50 pounds, I said, no, I can do this. Like, this is definitely doable. It's not easy, but it's definitely doable. So I definitely thought about it, but I'm so glad that I didn't. I've seen people that I know that even tried to bodybuild, like even once they lost the weight, they want to try to put on muscle mass, they can't eat. So, because there's only so much you can eat. So they're having that issue and different things like that. And it's not a good situation. Yeah, it's not a good situation.
Well, I've met a lot of patients personally that had, that either went through the gastric bypass and it didn't work for them because they ate through it.
Mm-hmm.
They've learned how to get around it. The foods that they're eating, and I've had patients have complications,
Mm-hmm.
small bowel obstructions. That's a major emergency, and if you have a small bowel obstruction, problematic. Bleeding during the surgeries itself.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say I've heard more than my fair shares of people just kind of eating. They call it eating through a bypass surgery.
Just stretching it out.
Kind of undo everything. Stretch out your stomach again.
Mm-hmm.
Where they make the stomach smaller, they just stretch it out again, and then they kind of undo all that. So I would say there's some great success stories that a lot of people have had great success with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's quite a significant amount of people that did not succeed with
Yeah.
this. And so that leads me into the question of what do you think about the new weight loss peptides that you know about? And I mean, I assume you know a lot about them.
Yeah.
I personally have a passion about longevity and wellness, and these peptides that are new to the market. It kind of falls in line of that.
Mm-hmm.
When it first came out, like I was saying earlier, I was really studying. I'm very hesitant to get behind them.
Mm-hmm.
I really knew they're a diabetic medication, and I knew they were being used already. I know they're safe, but it's the concept behind about it. It's not a magic pill. People
Mm-hmm.
think that this medicine is a magic pill. It is not.
No.
It's such a misconception. Not a magic pill. What I think these peptides are, it helps the ball get started.
Mm-hmm.
It starts to forward progress, and then you start losing a little bit of weight, and you're like, I feel pretty good. And then, I'm losing weight. Oh, wow, I'm not diabetic anymore. Oh my gosh, my blood pressure's. I don't have blood pressure medication. I don't need blood pressure medication anymore, right? I'm enjoying the gym because I feel like I look good, and you see how the ball gets started.
But you said the most important thing is I'm enjoying the gym. It's not a situation of you start that and be like, okay, I'm gonna just keep doing what I do every day. That's the problem. That's what I normally see. I don't mean to cut you off, but that's the problem that I see with people that I've seen try it. They'll try it and they're like, oh, I lost about 5 pounds. It's like, yeah, well, did you do anything else? Like, were you going to the gym? Did you change your eating? Did you change anything? No, I just kept doing everything I was doing, and I was taking them out. Well, that's not how it works. Yeah.
What do you think about it in general? Do you when people, you inspire a lot of people on social media and in your book, we'll talk about your book also, but, what do you think about when people ask you about these weight loss peptides? Should they do it? Should they not do it? What do you think?
I think people should start off and try the natural way first if they need something to help them get jump started. I'm not against peptides at all. It's just kind of if you need it type situations. Like if you're trying and nothing's working, okay, well, hey, go to the doctor if you need them. Why not? But if you can do it the natural way, then I feel like that's kind of the best way to do it personally. Just because I know on the other end of this how good I feel, and I didn't have to take anything to get here. I just had to control what I ate and control what I did. I personally feel like that's the best way to do it.
I agree, man. I make my 2 cents on it is that I was inspired to do the weight loss program in our practice, and
Okay.
I'm the founder of that program, and I use one of the peptides,
Okay.
terzepatide.
Okay.
It's the foundation of the program, but really the program is built around accountability, and so I have medically get them, make sure their body's healthy enough to take 2 medications, and on top of that I have a team.
There you go.
It's a multidisciplinary team of trainers and nutritionists and nurse practitioners experienced with the peptides. We're watching the patients and make sure that it's not a magic pill. That's like when you
There you
first
go.
meet me about the weight loss program. I'm gonna tell you, it's not a magic pill.
Exactly.
Like, and if you're not doing the right things, which is changing how you eat, your portion control, the types of food you're eating, and then not exercising consistently, this will not work.
No.
This is not a lifetime. These are not lifetime peptides.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that kind of get the ball started, and then you'll start seeing the forward momentum, and it starts building. And then in 6 months, you're off of them. And then as long as you've instilled the lifestyle changes of better eating, food control choices, and portion control, and then instilling exercise into your life that you enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
You get that right. I would tell them too. We've got to find something that you enjoy.
Exactly.
If it's weight training, great. And if it's Peloton, awesome. If it's running, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is, but you have to enjoy exercise because it is a requirement to change your metabolism and how you kind of burn calories.
Exactly.
So it is not something my patients, who wanted to do like extended therapy of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't endorse it. I don't
Okay.
support it really. And we have a lot of long discussions about it. But I do believe with these peptides, you are able to do a microdosing program where you just do a little bit and just kind of increase the interval, decrease the dose, and you kind of suppress some of the hunger pains. And that's kind of how the peptide works. It just decreases your need to eat. It makes you feel full faster. And it's really, it's all about the intake, Pate.
And the crazy thing about that is in the beginning of weight loss, that's one of the biggest problems is the cravings.
Yeah.
So like you said, that could be the life changer right there because that'll help you get past those little bit of struggles that you'll have in the beginning with going from eating whatever you want every day to eating 1,500 calories a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's good.
Yeah. I've heard the comment that, and I think it's true, I think that food can be considered a drug.
Absolutely.
How did you feel? What was your relationship with food when you got to this size here?
Yeah. So my thing is I love sweets. I still do. So now I, be mindful, right? But that was my thing. I love sweets. I love Mexican food, and I can pretty much, do whatever I want to do, eat whatever I want to eat. So my thing was when I was that size, I didn't have anybody telling me no. So I Papacitos or Taco Cabana.
Talking my
If you
language
let
right
me
there, bro.
eat Mexican food every day and I could do it healthily, I would. So that's to put it in perspective. So that's what my thing was: sweets and Mexican food, man. It was just one of those things. It was like I'm working, okay, let me stop right in here and grab this, or I want a honey bun. Like I'm working on a job site, I can't stop. Okay, they have a vending machine, let me grab that. Chips and different things like that. So
And it adds up.
it does. It adds up.
Adds up.
The calories and different things like that. Besides comparing it to something wholesome, you're like, Jesus is a lot of food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we've kind of hit on the point that exercising is so important. How did you, when you're that weight, when you're this guy here, like, did you exercise? Did you exercise in high school? Did you weight train? Were you a football player? Like, what got you to the point like, I want to lift weights? Like, what was that? What was it about that type of exercise you really enjoyed?
So when I played football from 7th grade all the way to the 11th grade year when I ended up getting shot. So that's when it stopped. But I was always an active guy. And then even though I was a bigger guy, I'm still pulling cable, out there being active and different things like that. So my weight, that's the thing, that my weight never really slowed me down from anything. So that was another reason why it just wasn't really important. But that was one of the things. I had been used to weight training pretty much my whole life, and different things like that. My nutrition wasn't on point for sure. Yeah. So that's what, the life changer was for me. But that's how I got in love with the gym. if that makes sense. So I started off like that, veered away from it after my incident, but then I came back to it and I was like, man, I remember how much I really enjoy this. Like the grind of bettering yourself, it's such a satisfying. I'm sure like there's nobody that can do it for you. There's nobody that can, hey, you can't buy it, all those things like that. Like it's just a very satisfying situation. Like getting up in the morning and working on yourself first before you have to, not to say deal with, but work on anybody else or deal with the day or anything like that. It's just such a satisfying feeling, and it puts you in a very good mindset.
I like you saying that. We talked about it before we got on camera about when I asked you when do you like to work out, and you said morning, and it's my type of man right here, man.
Yes, sir.
I just think and you said the same thing I said, which is you take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
You take care of yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me and what I do, and I'm a busy guy, and my days, my minutes are accounted for pretty much all day.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't take care of myself first, and for me, it's the church of the gym. Like I
Yeah.
have my own gym in my house. I'm very blessed to say that,
Mm-hmm.
and I love being in there. It's my church, and I pay myself first. I do my cardio, I do my training, and then I get to eat. You
Yeah.
know, so I enjoy it. And you do the same thing. You're
Absolutely.
a morning guy, it sounds like, with the training.
Yeah, I'm up at 5 a.m. and there by 6. I get a couple hours in, do me some weight training, do me some cardio, some Stairmaster, all those things like that. Then I can take a shower, I can eat. I'm on with my day.
Yeah. During your transformation, in those 14 months, like what challenges did you have?
Mm.
What kind of roadblocks that people would be like, man, I don't know if I can do this. Like I'm sure because you're a transformation coach and life coach, lifestyle coach. Some of the common challenges that people have to overcome in their transformation journey.
You'd be surprised. The most common problem is support. That is the most common problem and that was one of my biggest things when I was first getting started. It was, I started doing this, and then you have your friends that are used to you hanging out and doing all those other things, and one phone call can knock you back 6 months. That's how easy it happens. So that's normally one of the biggest issues is, spousal support or whatever it is. Like you're trying to make a change and maybe the other person doesn't want you to change, or you're trying to make a change and, some people get embarrassed.
Yeah.
A lot of bigger guys and different stuff like that don't like going to the gym.
Yeah.
That's one of my biggest issues is getting people to actually go to the gym. So I started saying, okay, well, we'll start off walking, running, resistance band, whatever we need to get you, get your confidence up or whatever we need to do. And personally, for me, my challenge was support, number one. And after that was when I started taking the weight off, I noticed I started hurting. And my joints and my back and all those things like that. I just seen all the abuse that I'd given my body over the years. So I couldn't go as hard as I wanted to in the gym. I still kind of can't. I still have issue with my shoulder and my lower back. But those were my challenges. Mentally, I was okay. I just had to get over the fact of the support and, kind of what I have done to myself and all those things like that, make peace with it all. And after you make peace with it all, man, it's all downhill. And it typically happens like you're going through it. You're like, man, I'm really not sure. But when you see that weight start moving, let me tell you something. Typically, once you see probably about the first 50 pounds come off, you like, I can do this. Like, I don't care what anybody has to say. Like, it is on. Like that's typically like I get a call, hey, the people are so excited and all those things, like I lost 20 pounds and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay, slow down. Like we still got to make sure you still follow the program. Like I know you see it's working, but don't get too excited. Don't overdo it. Like we still need our rest days. Those are important. Our rest, those are important. That it all plays a part. Sure. So yeah, that's some of the stuff that I struggle with and some of the stuff that I see the most.
Interesting. Super interesting. So inspiring, man. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are watching this and come up on their feed and they just have similar kind of sticking points.
Mm-hmm.
What is that sticking point, right? But I think the way you did it right. I'm just such admiration for that work ethic just to say this happened, that you clicked, and then you're able to do it with just diet and exercise alone. But I think now we have, the resources of, these medications that I think they're very safe. You need to have a medical professional, obviously, that is supervising you doing it. But I think you get the ball rolling, and I think we're going to be hearing this a lot.
Yeah.
I think you picked, you as an inspirational person for them to look at are going to be coming to you like, hey, man, I saw you on Dr. Morales' Fit Doc podcast, and I really want to I'm ready to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, kudos to you. I wanted to kind of go into the next section of some of the consequences of weight loss, and one of those consequences is that you kind of end up in a big skin suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you
Right.
do. Yes, you do.
Did you have any idea that was going to happen to you?
I had not the slightest idea. I remember vividly. I was doing check-ins with my coach and all those things like that, and we were in there, and I'm like, okay, but when does this go away? Like, when does when does this go away? He's like, that skin is not going nowhere. I'm like, what do you mean it's not going anywhere? And he's like, yeah. He's like, the only thing you can really do is get it removed. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah. He said, I mean, you got to think about from where you came from where you are. It's like, and then the amount of time, and all those things like that, which is kind of, a myth. Like, no matter how much time it takes, you still gonna have the skin. But yeah, that was a very, very crazy moment. Like, I really be like, okay, like it really brings it full circle, like kind of like what you did to yourself, because it's like this did not have to be.
Right.
This did not have to be, and so it's like now this is going to cost whatever it is to get it removed and all those things like that. But after you go through the skin removal, it's a very satisfying process.
Yeah, and that's how we first met, really.
Yeah.
I think I was the end of your transformation of the.
Mm.
I call myself a fancy tailor. Fancy tailor.
Well, you
when
do
it
a
comes
great
down
job
to skin contouring. That's really what weight loss is. Eventually, is that you stretch out your skin, you lose some elasticity, and then now you have all this fabric basically that has to be tailored. And the shirts. Look at your shirts. You have seams, and we try to put the scars along where seams are for clothing to conceal it and less visibility of them. And one of the big things that patients don't quite fully understand is that, when you go through such a significant amount of weight loss, that you lose a lot of elasticity in your skin. Mm-hmm. And so you don't have like Lululemon fabric anymore.
Yeah.
Now you have more like, kind of cotton, linen kind of quality. And so you kind of don't get that tight shrink wrap anymore.
Right.
But the way we tailor it is just we tailor it. We have to remove skin. And some people just can't get that around their, they can't grasp that concept that it's really skin contouring, removing extra skin, tailoring it correctly. And then that we can get you down to your smaller form, because the bottom line is you're wearing a big skin suit.
That's pretty much it.
It doesn't affect everybody the same. Some people, have a lot of skin in their arms or more in their thighs or more in their midsection or their chest or their breast. Sometimes it affects your face, but it really affects your body globally. It's just genetically why some people carry weight in other parts of the body more than others. And so kind of talk about, the journey through the skin removal surgeries. I think, because you had done a couple before we started working together, right?
Yeah, and one thing I do want to point out before I start on that is one of the things that the skin messes with the most is confidence. That's one thing I have seen a lot. But after the fact and different things like that, you become a whole different light. Like the person, it really brings on that next part of you in the transformation. It really does. But yeah, as far as my skin removals, originally I had a 360 body lift, FDL, and
what's the FDL for people who don't know?
Oh, straight down the stomach.
It's called a fleur-de-lis, and it's basically it's based off that. I think the little symbol is a fleur-de-lis. But anyways, when we do like the lower tummy tuck incision, and then we have the vertical component of the tummy.
And so I had my thighs done as well, from knee to groin, all at one time, and was not the smartest idea, but I didn't know. I can say that's how I found Dr. Morales. My first surgery did not go well.
Let's talk about these contouring surgeries, Pave, because people need to understand, like, these are not small surgeries.
No, sir. No, they're not.
They can be quite extensive. There's blood loss involved. These are major surgeries. These are not surgeries. These are reconstructive surgeries. I want you to understand that people who are watching this, you need to understand these are reconstructive surgeries, very powerful transformation surgeries, but they do carry risk. I'm gonna tell you now. Like, there are surgeons that will do all body parts at one time.
Right.
And that is, can I do the surgeon? Absolutely. For me, ethically, I will never do that.
And
it will never happen in my hands. I know what my limit is, and I'm willing to tolerate, not for me physically as a surgeon, but it's really what I feel is safe for who I would put to sleep as a family member, which for me is a surgical amount of anesthesia time. and in my hands it's 7 hours.
Yeah.
So I can do a lot in 7 hours. I
Mm-hmm.
really can do quite a bit. But you have to consider the risk of anesthesia and then also blood loss.
Yeah.
And so, you know, having surgery in a accredited facility that can handle emergency situations, you know, whether it be in a hospital or a private surgery center that maybe can have overnight capacity to watch you for observation and fluid hydration afterwards. But I'm telling you, Pate, man, I hear horror stories all the time, brother. Like, I'm talking about patients who are having these big surgeries and basically in a closet in back of someone's office. Oh, bro.
Wow.
Bro, I'm telling you, it happens a lot.
Yeah.
And it's scary. Just because they can do something to you doesn't mean you should go through it. So I like you to kind of focus on, like, you know, when did you started searching for a surgeon? Like, what did you look for? You know, your experience of your surgeries and then how we got to work together.
So my first surgery, I honestly had no idea of what I was getting myself into. I just looked for somebody that pretty much would do what I wanted them to do. That's the man side of me, and was not the smartest idea by far, because that resulted me in passing out, and a week later after surgery, having to go to the hospital, give 3 or 4 blood transfusions, be rushed to the hospital, scare the heck out of my family. Yes, they did that first surgery all in one time, and it was supposed to be 6 hours of surgery. It was 12.
12 hours of surgery, Pate.
12 hours of surgery.
Please tell me this was done in a hospital.
So it was done at a hospital. Yes, it was done at a hospital.
Did you stay overnight?
No, that was one of them.
They sent you home.
They sent me home, and I didn't get blood work done before. I didn't know it was a thing. I had no idea.
Nope.
They brought me in. They checked me out and asked me questions. That was the version of checking me out. I just want to notate that, and said, "You're a healthy guy." Okay, cool. And we signed up, paid for it, showed up, did it. And I really didn't know it was a problem until I woke up, because I couldn't wake up. They had me in the recovery room. The lady was really just trying to get me out of there because it was around the COVID time. So she was really trying to get me out the door. And the first thing I noticed is I was just kept drifting off to sleep. I just kept drifting off to sleep. And then they told me how long it was. And I'm like, well, what happened? And nobody could ever really tell me what happened. It's just, it just took a little bit longer. You know, we got in there and, wanted to make sure everything was okay. Oh, okay. Right? Sounds like a great answer. Yeah, that apparently wasn't the truth. So I got home. Well, they rolled me out same day. My parents picked me up.
I just can't get over the 12-hour surgery mark. I forgot you telling me that.
Yeah, it was 12 hours of surgery, and my family picked me up. We got home. I was falling asleep on the way home in the vehicle. They were trying to keep me woke. We got to my house, stepped out of the truck. All I remember was them trying to pick me up because I hit the ground. Boom. Hit the ground right at the house. And after that, I could only walk probably about 10 steps, and I would have to sit down, rest. 10 steps, sit down, rest. So we did that. We actually got me in the house, got some food in me. And for about a week, I was okay. But I started having these feelings of like just irritable and like something's not right. And I hadn't had a bowel movement. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's just because I hadn't had a bowel movement. So I got up to go to the restroom. My family helped me to the restroom. And all I remember was I started sweating. And I'm like, okay, I must really need to go to the bathroom. So I sat down, and that's when it all went dark. And I can remember hearing them, but not being able to say anything back to them. So it was a very scary time, because it was not a good thing to hear your family like, what's going on? They're panicking. And all you want to do is let them know you're there, but you just can't do it. And so they rushed me to the hospital that day. I remember getting in the ambulance, and I remember waking up at the hospital. The room was dark. Nobody was there. I was wet because, blood and everything was all over me. And I'm just like, what is going on? What happened? And so I'm calling for the nurse because I don't have a phone. I'm like, what's going on? I'm kind of panicking, and I'm trying not to panic. But yeah, so we did that. The nurse finally came in and told me what happened. My family brought my bag in because I said it's COVID time. Nobody could come in there. So they got me. They did a CT scan. And then the crazy thing about this was when I got there, they wouldn't let me eat because they wanted to do tests and all that. And I'm like, I really need some food. And they're like, no, can't give anything. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, this is gonna get worse. So once they eventually got me upstairs, and they would give me was broth. Then the doctor had to come in to say it was allowed for me to have food. Very, very scary time. I spent about a week at that hospital, and
How many transfusions?
4.
Man.
It was like, man, it was crazy, man. It was like I was living in a warp. It was like I woke up at the same time. I did the same things. They did the check every day, and they would tell me my blood level had dropped again. And I'm sitting there like, what is going on? Like,
Wow.
what in the world is going on? So did that, prayed. That's actually where Determined Wellness came from, in that hospital. Because when I was there, a lot of people kept coming in like, man, you should write a book. They was like, you look great. You should write a book telling them about my journey, all that stuff like that. And I'm like, at that time, I was like, I just not what I'm trying to do with my life. Like, I'm good. I don't need anything
Gotta
else.
get out of the hospital first.
Yeah, like it's like I'm not. It's not what I'm focused on right now. But I appreciate it, you know. So yeah. So fast forward, I walked out of the hospital after that. So that was, yeah, it was definitely a time. But so fast forward after that, I did my first competition, all those things like that. I still had my chest skin, and my butt area had some sagging, and I was like, I'm not sure if I want to go through this again. But I knew from everything I learned that I definitely need to pick somebody that, one, had similar interests, and I could tell they really cared about what they did and they really know what they're doing. So when I met you, I came out to meet you. First thing I noticed about you is, okay, he's obviously fit, so he knows what I'm trying to achieve. It's the first thing. The second thing was, when I talked to you, you just made me feel at ease. I told you everything that happened to me, and you're like, that shouldn't. You told me every reason of why it happened. And that was the one thing that changed me. I was like, okay, he knows exactly what he's talking about. And I kind of tested you a little bit, because I was like, so can we do this outpatient? You're like, no. I'm like, okay. So he definitely knows what he's talking about. So yeah, no, my surgery with you, night and day difference. I'll recommend anybody. I felt it was the smoothest process I've ever had. I went to sleep, woke up, felt fine, stayed perfectly fine, went home, just followed directions, and different things like that, and turned out great. Turned out great, man. I was like very, very thankful for you and for your team and everything. And yeah, it's been a journey.
Well, I appreciate you. It's been just a great to know you and get to know you and your story and share your story. Now get to share it on the podcast on YouTube forever.
Yes, sir.
And, I just think your story is just inspiring. I've always been impressed with you. The these the skin parts. Kind of when I get involved, give some people some tips on who to look for when you start searching for the weight loss contouring. When do you start doing it? When did you start thinking I need to get the skin off? Like, where do I go find these people? Like, who does these kind of things? Like, who how did you point? Can you point people to what to start looking for?
So when I personally started looking for a surgeon, one of the
going through everything you've gone through for now, what would you look for? Like, when people ask you, like, man, Pate, I got all the skin on. Who do I go to? What should I look for? Right?
Well, personally, I'm maybe a little biased, but if anybody comes to me and they're asking me who they should pick, I always say you. But like I said, maybe just a little biased. But typically, I tell people to get as many consultations as you can, and pick who has your best interest at heart. I tell them about what I went through. I tell them typically they should only want to do 6 hours. If they want to do any over that, don't do it. If they don't ask you to get blood work first, don't do it. Those are the type of things that I tell people to look for, because that is, I would say, the things that make it go from terribly good to terribly bad. If you don't know what your blood work is, if they're not telling you about aftercare, if they don't have multiple clients that they can show you that have been through the same thing and have done what you tried to do, I would not recommend it.
Yeah. I'd like to elaborate some of the things that you should, for people who lost a lot of weight and they want to get these big skin contour surgeries, that there's some risk associated to that. So if they had gastric bypass surgery, that you have some metabolic changes can happen, like nutritional deficiencies that can occur. So, when you've lost a lot of weight with me, I think it's, you're always going to get some blood work. We're going to make sure that your nutritional nutritionally optimized.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't realize how deficient they are in protein, and you actually need protein to heal.
Mm-hmm.
So the people that are taking all these, these peptides, they don't eat enough protein, and what happens? They become protein deficient, and they have some of these contouring surgeries. They don't have enough protein to heal, and their incisions fall apart, and they wonder why. It's because you don't have no protein in your system. You don't eat protein enough, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then also the blood counts. Most people don't, some people don't quite appreciate like what anemia is, which is the low blood count. And when you do these bigger surgeries, you drop your blood count significantly. As human beings, we have this reserve. It's called our spleen. Our spleen has this reservoir of blood that kind of dumps usually within the 36, 40, 72 hours within surgery, and it kind of gets your blood count up. But these big contouring surgery, you're losing a lot of blood loss. We're talking about like the body lifts or the FTLs, the chest lifts, the full thigh lifts, like those. You're losing a fair amount of blood, and so we want to make sure that the patient is that can tolerate that kind of blood loss. It's so important. Or you're going to have symptoms of passing out.
Yes.
Repeatedly.
Yep.
Some of that passing out right after surgery is associated to just being a little bit more dehydrated than most people think. But we want to optimize, especially in my hands. If you're massive weight loss, we're taking a lot of skin. We're going to be checking your blood count. We're going to be checking your all your labs for protein deficiency and all the elements as well to make sure you can tolerate these surgeries. In an outpatient setting, typically our bigger surgeries stay overnight with me.
Exactly.
So it's really just make sure to find surgeons and providers that understand that it's really about safety.
Yes.
Like this is not medically necessary surgery.
Right.
This is not what insurance pays for. Insurance doesn't pay for it.
Not at all.
You're choosing to do this to yourself. You're paying a lot of money to do this to yourself. Please, please, please make the time and investment to find someone that is going to take care of you.
Yeah.
And make sure to get the outcomes that you want, but also, most importantly, safely.
Yeah, because the dollar amount, I understand people say, I want to go over here because the dollar amount is cheaper. When you're doing something like this, think about it. You're going to be wearing this for the rest of your life. Yeah. It's not a car you can buy and trade it in. Say if it takes you a year longer to save the money. I tell people that all the time because they tell me they want to go to Mexico or Colombia or all those things like that. I'm like, you don't live in Mexico or Colombia. Do you realize you're cutting yourself up and then you're going to get on a plane and come back here? Like, have you really thought this through? They're like, well, yeah, people do it. I'm like, yes, but they shouldn't. I like the doctors in Mexico should work on the people in Mexico. If you live in the U.S., hey, I personally believe that's why I did all mine here. And I personally believe, like, I'm not getting on a plane right after having surgery. Like, getting on a plane and all those things like that, people don't realize what it actually does to your body. Bodybuilders do.
Yeah.
People don't realize they just get on a plane. They think, oh, well, I'm just getting on a plane. Like, it actually, messes with your body a little bit when you get on a plane. So I'm not, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to elaborate on that because, I've talked about this in other videos on YouTube about medical tourism and, the new trend for patients to travel to the DR or Mexico or Colombia for their cosmetic surgery. And the driving force of it really paid his price. Like, it's cheaper.
Yep.
Well, let's ask ourselves, why is it cheaper? Why is it cheaper?
Exactly.
Like, this is not me having a personal attack of the Hispanic, the Mexican surgeons. Not at all. The problem is the price. And the reason they're cheaper is because somehow they're cutting corners.
Yep.
Either it's not in a great facility, or they're using equipment or supplies, or they're not really doing real anesthesia, or the surgeon's not very good because the surgeons can't get a lot of patients other than like for cheap surgery. So that's how they attract patients like that. So, and then you have to figure out like how you're going to recover. Like, do you recover? And what happens if you have an emergency? What if you like lose too much blood and you get transferred to the hospital? What happens then?
Right.
Well, I'll tell you what happens, Pate.
Yeah.
They end up shipping you across the border, and you end up in a hospital in the United States because they say, oh, your insurance will take care of you.
Right.
And they send you over there. And then you have, it happens all the time, man. I'm telling you, all the time.
Yeah.
California, Arizona, the borders, towns of Texas. There's plastic surgeons out there all the time that take care of these patients that are just complete disaster. We're talking about like 16-hour marathon surgeries, and they're basically almost dead. And they literally get shipped across an ambulance, almost dead. And they're like, your insurance will take care of it. That's what happens. I'm telling you, this is what happens. It happens all the time. And it's terrifying. And for people to even consider that risk, not to say it happen all the time. There's some success stories. But is it worth it? Is it really worth losing your life or having permanent strokes or, DVTs from jumping on a plane right after surgery and you have a stroke or you can't move your leg? Is it really worth it to your family and to your quality of life to go through that for money? Just save you more money.
That's what I'm saying. Because I'm like, man, think about it. I mean, just to put it in perspective, think about if I would have went through what I went through across the border.
Man, you'd be dead.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, to me, it's no brainer. Like I tell everybody, save the money, save your life. Because at the end of the day, like, dude, what is it you're going to save what? A few thousand if that? Yeah, no, it's not worth it. It's really not worth it. Just you've went through the delayed gratification to lose the weight. Just go through the little bit more of delayed gratification to pick a surgeon that's really going to care about you.
Yeah.
And your safety and stuff like that. Because personally, I can tell you, from experience, that anybody that's willing to do 12 hours of surgery on you, like you said, marathon surgeries, is not somebody that really cares about you. That's somebody that cares about the dollar amount. And, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I get, money's necessary, and I understand people need to get paid for what they do. But at the same time, I still believe like you should instruct people to do the right things the right way. In different
for safety.
Exactly, for your safety.
Especially for what I do. This is cosmetic surgery, man.
Yeah.
This is not a reconstructive surgery. I'm trying to save your life, bro. Like, to me, ethically as a surgeon, like you're not gonna find me doing cases over 7 hours. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Oh, I'm well aware. I'm well aware. I asked the questions I asked you for a reason. Yeah.
So love to kind of you touched on this a second ago, but you said this book was born during that situation where you almost died.
Yes.
And I just got to give you mad props on writing this book. It's award-winning already. I've heard.
Yep. Best-selling author.
It's on Amazon, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Man, that's impressive.
I appreciate it.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And this is your book. It's called The Determined Life, and it's really about your story.
Mm-hmm.
And I just again, you have an amazing book. Your website's awesome, and I want you to talk about how this book was born, and then how it's kind of what it means to you.
So the book was born, like I said, when I was at the hospital. People kept coming in. Like I had heard several people over the years telling me that knew me personally. Like they would see me then, see me then, and all those things like that, and see my transformation and say, "Holy, what happened? Like, are you okay?" That's the first thing they wanted to ask me. Is like, "Am I okay? Am I sick?" No, I'm not sick. This is a choice I made. Did you do the surgery? No, I did not do the surgery. You did this with diet and exercise? Yes, I did. What? Yes. Things like that. So that was one of the biggest problems starting out. Like people thought I was Photoshop online. Like I went through the trenches, and I'm like, is it that hard to believe? And in retrospect, I did understand. In
society now, it is.
Yeah. I understand. So like now, I don't take it personally when people assume. I was just like, no, I just correct them or whatever. But so yes, when I was at the hospital and I was going through my blood transfusions and different things like that, I spent a lot of time talking to God and all those things like that. And it was crazy. Like I felt like I said, went through the same things every day. Like the nurses were coming in, different nurses, but they would come in, tell me the exact same thing. They would come in, hey, we need to check your blood. Okay. They check my blood level dropped. I'm like, okay, we're going to send somebody in to do a blood transfusion, all that stuff. The doctor's going to come talk to you. Okay. All that stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. And they're like, but you look amazing. You should write a book. And I'm like, okay. So on the third day, I said, okay, Lord, I got you. No problem. I understand what it is that you're telling me. I understand why I'm here. I understand me being hard-headed a little bit got me here. So if that's what you want me to do, no problem. I got you. And I was like, well, tell me how I should do this. Because I don't know the first thing about writing a book. I pull wire for a living. So please instruct me to how I should do this. And it was like, start a business. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, well, give me the name. And clear as day, Determined Wellness came to be. And I said, okay, well, no problem. Because it was like in that second, I was like, oh, okay, well, be careful what you pray for sometimes. So, no lie, after I said, okay, I'm going to do it, I got released from the hospital 30 minutes later. And so that was the turning point for me because I walked out of the hospital. I came in a wheelchair getting blood transfusions. And once I finally was isolated enough and sat down, like, listen to what I'm telling you, it's like, okay. I finally said, okay. And I walked out of the hospital and I'm like, gotcha. No problem. I understand what it was all for. I get it. So fast forward, got back to the house, finished recovering, all those things of that nature. And the rest of the recovery and all that stuff was great. So did my next show and all that. I'm sorry, not my next show, did my first show. And after I did my first show, won first place and all those things like that, got the overall. I'm like, okay, this is where the first book will end. Because on that stage, that was the end of the weight loss. That was the end of the transformation side of things for us. Like, I'm trying to lose weight and all those things like that. So that's why I'm so passionate about it, man, because I went through it. It was a lot of mental, a lot of spiritual, a lot of love that went into this book. And personally, I believe that's why it's done well, because it's a true story. One, it's out to help people. That's what I'm here for. I'm out to help anybody that wants to go through the transformation the right way and get the help that they need and all those things like that. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. Yeah, that's what I would say.
I got to tell you, just congratulations again.
I appreciate it.
Inspiration. And I think a lot of people are going to watch this, or think you might sell out of your book.
Hey, Amazon got them.
Anyway, I'm sure you're working on a second book.
Yeah.
That's my anticipation of you, knowing you a little bit better every day.
Yeah, we working on a second book, probably second and third, and different stuff like that, audio book and all those things of that nature. So there'll be more to come. There'll definitely be more to come.
Hear that. So just kind of wrapping up, so what would you say is, and if people are kind of on the fence, or they feel like they're getting someone's kind of, you think that they're close to kind of making the switch, what would you say to them?
I'm just like anybody else. If I can do it, you definitely can do it. That's what I believe the biggest problem is. It's just the support. It's just the people that they don't believe it's possible. And that's why I want to be the voice, man. I want to show people that this is possible. Like, you can do this. You can come back from anything. Those are the things I would say to that question, because that's what the number one thing is. That surprisingly, as easy as it sounds, that's really what it is. That's really what it is. A lot of people just sit there and they're like, no, I'm already here. And since I'm already here, I'm just going to make the best of it. It's like, no, you don't have to do that. Like, that's okay if that's what you want. But just understand you're taking years off your life. If you have kids, they're going to want you around. All those things like that. So sometimes you have to make the choice not just for you. You have to make it for who you want to be around for, and things of that nature. So, yeah, that's typically what I run into the most with people that are sitting on the fence.
Love it, man. I want to thank you again for your time.
Oh, man.
Man, it's been great getting to know you a little bit better, and just kind of, hearing how you tick and your motivation, your inspirational journey. I fully expect more things out of you.
I appreciate it.
I already see it because we talked about it. We have that, you have that it,
Yeah, you definitely
have
have
that
it
drive and that motivation. Now you have this inspiring story now and life journey, and you're just inspiring others. And so, we get along really well.
Absolutely.
Thank you again for coming. Look forward to more books from you, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, my friend.
Yes, sir.
So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. We've got a little bit of motivation from me, inspiration. My man Pate here has a website, Mr245.com. Go check him out. You can find his book, Determined Life, out on Amazon.com. Go get your hands on it. It's a great read. And stay tuned for more. We'll see you at the next Fit Doc podcast.